Welcome to the DU Study Abroad Course Approval Workshop. This is a joint presentation from the Office of International Education and the Office of the Registrar to help answer questions regarding what course approvals look like for your study abroad program.
And just a quick introduction. We've got folks from the Office of International Education here today, and then folks who have experience in the registrar to go through this today's agenda. So we're going to give you a brief overview of both of the roles of the Office of International Education and the Office of the Registrar, the process on how to earn credit for study abroad coursework, how to use tiers, and then how to complete a course approval form. So the Office of International Education, your very first step when it comes to getting ready to study abroad is to attend a first step session. We do offer those throughout fall quarter, weeks 1 through 10, and then through at least half of winter quarter, as well as students prepare for the application deadlines. So our office's role is to help advise on program selection, support you throughout the study abroad process, and then provide resources on how to seek course approvals. What our office does not do is advise on how coursework transfers back to DU, but we're going to talk a little bit more about who to talk to about that today.
All right, so I'm Kirsten. I'm in the Office of the Registrar, and to clarify the role of the registrar in this process, the credential evaluators in our office liaise with faculty here at DU to obtain official course approvals for any courses you take abroad. We will notify you when your requested courses are approved or denied, and we enter all the study abroad credit when students return based on all of these approvals. And then we are here for any questions about this course approval process. What we do not do is make those decisions ourselves. So we are not looking at courses and saying, yes, this is approved, no, this is denied. Faculty makes all those decisions, and we are just keeping track of that.
Some other important university policies to keep in mind, especially from the standpoint of the Office of the Registrar, that, like Kirsten said, sort of works with departments in getting those coursework approvals on file, is to remember that 50% of your courses towards your major and your minors must be taken at the University of Denver. So that means that your butt is literally in a DU chair. So keep that in mind, especially as you're looking for programs and courses in different abroad programs, specifically just to make sure that you are staying within that 50% capacity for all of your majors and minors. Another thing to keep in mind is that you cannot repeat a course for credit. So say, you take Psych 1001 here at DU for your major, you can't go abroad and take the equivalent of a Psych 1001 at your abroad institution and expect to get that credit back. So just be sure that you're really checking for coursework approval requests abroad. And we have a database called Tiers that we'll talk a little bit about later, where you can see all of those equivalent courses listed. And then last kind of final university policy here is that you must have a grade of a C- or better for an abroad course to count towards your major and minor. So just like here at the university, where we require a C- or better for major or minor credit, that same grading policy applies to abroad courses as well.
For most students, if you plan early, work closely with your academic department, and choose an appropriate program and term to go abroad, you should be able to study abroad and still graduate on time as if you had never left the DU campus. While most DU students go abroad fall of their junior year, a different term may work better for some majors. If you choose to go abroad during the spring semester, you'll likely miss 2 quarters at DU, winter and spring, instead of only 1. This may not be an issue if you're ahead on credits and/or degree requirements and have a fair amount of flexibility in your academic schedule. There are a small number of winter quarter only and spring quarter only possibilities, though these tend to provide more limited coursework options. The questions listed here are a good starting point for your conversations with your major and/or academic advisor.
So the degree evaluators in the Office of the Registrar check to make sure you are on track to graduate. And so if you're going abroad, it's good to consult with them just to make sure going to study abroad isn't going to affect your graduation time in any way. This is particularly important if you will be studying abroad your senior year, your final year here, because you just want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. So some questions to ask your degree evaluator are, am I on track to graduate? How many credits do I need to transfer back from study abroad to graduate on time? Are there specific courses that I need to take while abroad? And these are questions that you can also check with your major advisor, but the degree evaluator is the one who's really keeping track of all your credits towards graduation. So it's just a good consultation as well.
A question that is asked often is the timeline for when students should submit their course approval requests. Students in special situations should submit the course approval requests before the DU abroad application deadline. This may be because you need to meet a specific degree requirement abroad, or you're looking at programs with a set or very limited curriculum. You can't change your program choice after submitting your application. So submitting your request now gives you time to make changes before submitting your DU abroad application if the classes you need aren't approved. The most popular option for students is to submit the coursework approval after you've been conditionally approved for a specific program. We recommend doing this 2 quarters before you study abroad. If your program starts in the fall term, do this by the end of the spring quarter, as some faculty approvers aren't available in the summer to review requests. Talk to your faculty advisor about what types of classes the department can accept, limitations to approvals, and what criteria they'll use to evaluate courses. Then, when your course options become available, make educated guesses as to what your department is likely to approve. You still need to get explicit approval for each course through the online approval process, as we've listed in this presentation. But sometimes programs don't make the course options available in advance. It is not recommended that students submit course approvals while they are abroad or after they return. Whenever possible, we strongly recommend avoiding this option. You aren't able to switch classes at this point if your request is denied. This option is available, though, if you don't have a choice or if you forget to do your approvals earlier.
All right, so kind of getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of how to submit coursework approvals, what that process looks like. Again, you'll want to first start by checking whether a course that you might be interested in is already approved for credit. And again, that's going to be on our pre-approved transfer list called tiers, which we'll again talk about in just a moment. But then if you look at tiers and you see that the course that you're interested in is not listed or is not listed as what you're hoping it to be counting for, that is the point in which you will submit a coursework approval request online through your MyDU. And then, once you submit that request, whether it's for major credit, minor credit, a specific common curriculum requirement, whatever you're kind of looking for, the registrar's office will liaise with the appropriate department and reviewer. And once the registrar's office has a decision back, they will then communicate that decision to you. And so that way you'll kind of know sort of how your abroad classes might transfer back to DU. And so those are kind of like the 3 overall steps. Some, again, important caveats to mention that we've kind of talked about already is that it can take anywhere from 5 to 6 weeks to get decisions back. So it's really important to try to plan ahead, get those coursework approval requests in as soon as possible, just so that you have all the information that you need, hopefully prior to going abroad, and you'll just know sort of how your classes will shake out. again, it is up to the faculty approvers. So if you have courses that you want to try to take abroad to count towards your major, definitely we would recommend meeting with your major advisor as soon as possible. They obviously can kind of give some insight into what programs might have courses that would fit in for your remaining degree requirements. Remember, the Office of International Education doesn't have any say in how courses transfer. Like mentioned earlier, they sort of advise on the programs that you could apply to, but courses themselves come back based on faculty approval. So as you're submitting these coursework approval requests, please note that you cannot submit more than 5 at a time. And so if you have more classes that you're interested in, that will have to come. You'll submit classes for approval as you get decisions back. And so again, also too, just remember, depending on when you're going abroad and what courses your abroad program is offering at that time, just because you submit a course for approval and it might be approved, doesn't mean that it'll actually be offered by your abroad institution at the time that you're going abroad. So just remember to be flexible and have lots of options in mind.
All right, tiers. So tiers is where all of our pre-approved courses live. It is short for Transfer and International Education Course Reporting System. And you will be able to find this link on our website, and the folks in the Office of International Education can also provide you with this link. But essentially, when you go into the tiers page, you'll see there's a drop down to choose the country of your study abroad program. So you will choose that. And then on the next page, there are options for the different institutions. If you don't see your program there, it probably does not have any pre-approved courses, and you would just go ahead to the course approval process. If you do see it there, it will pull up a page with many pre-approved courses, and you'll see these can be pre-approved in a variety of ways. It might just be elective credit. It might just say psychology elective or psychology 1XXX is how that will be written. It could be approved for some of your common curriculum requirements like AI Society or AI Natural. It could be approved towards majors, and it could be approved as specific classes, so like Psych 1001. So you can go through and look for the courses you want to take, see if it's there. If you find courses there you want to take, you also want to make sure it's being offered during the term you plan on being abroad. So you want to check the Study Abroad program website to make sure you can take that course while you're there. And then if the course you want to take is not on the list, you'll do the course approval process. One thing to note is that if courses are pre-approved on the list, but it's not what you want. So let's say a course is approved for psychology elective, but you want to find out if it can count for SI Society. You should still submit a course approval request because you're looking for that different equivalency here at DU. And this is what the tiers page looks like. So as you can see, there are those drop downs there. The one that's going to concern you for study abroad is the one at the top with the country. So you'll choose the country and then click list schools, and that will take you to the program page, to the courses for the specific schools.
Now, to submit a coursework approval request, again, this is going to be something that you can fulfill online through your MyDU student portal. So you'll just log into your MyDU. The quickest way of navigating to the course approval request form is to just search in the search box at the top of MyDU and just type in request coursework approval. And that will link you directly to the form that you would need to fill out in order to submit a course for approval. And so when you open up that form, you'll see different fields for you to fill in. This can include things like the course description number, the title of the course, the actual course description itself. It's important to note that that is at the bare minimum required for a coursework approval request. though if you do have a syllabus, that is highly, highly recommended. There are some departments that will not even review a course without a syllabus. So if you have a syllabus, all the better in your chances of getting this approved in a timely manner, or at the very least reviewed in a timely manner. So yes, definitely something to keep in mind. There's also an additional comments box. So if you have, you know, any other information that you feel like might be relevant to the department for approval, anything extra that you'd like them to consider, you can put that in the comments box in the form as well. There's also a field in the form to sort of explain exactly what credit you're seeking. Again, this can be selected from a drop-down menu. So if you're thinking that you're going to be taking an anthropology class and you need that to hopefully fulfill an AI society requirement, you'd be able to plug in there that you're seeking AI society credit. Or if you're majoring in Spanish and you want to start your Spanish, Spanish 1001, you think that would be the appropriate specific course equivalent, you can list, you know, specific course equivalent and then write in Spanish 1001 and see if that is how it will be approved. It's better to kind of over explain and have ample information, you know, than trying to submit coursework approval requests that are sparse, and therefore the faculty has to temporarily deny it because of lack of information, and they might just bounce it back, and it just can increase your time in waiting for these decisions. So try to be thorough, try to have as much information as possible, and that will all help you in the long run. And then again, just a reminder that you can only submit 5 requests at a time. The system will not let you submit more than that. So again, if you submit 5 requests, you have to wait at the very least until you get 1 decision back before you can send out another course for review. So just kind of, again, plan ahead, plan accordingly, and make sure that you've got all of that taken care of. If you simply are going abroad and you only want general elective credit, and you're going with DU partner program, you can expect that credit to come back as general elective credit at the very least. As long as we have a corresponding DU department, we will accept any course from a DU partner program at the very least as general elective. So something to keep in mind, but if you want to go beyond that, beyond the general elective, get something more specific, that's where those coursework approval requests come into play. Oh, and this is a screenshot of what the coursework approval request kind of looks like when you get into the form. So again, it's got some information at the top, some instructions that can be helpful. It links out to TIERS, the Transfer and International Education Reporting System that Kirsten was speaking about earlier. So definitely check there first. But then again, yes, you can just move through this form, answer all the required fields, put in as much information as possible, and submit your requests.
So to check the status of your request, you are able to see the status in MyDU and in MyWeb, but it's going to be pretty vague. It'll just say pending as long as it's with a department. So generally speaking, we just want to give you a heads up about the timeline. So depending on the department and the time of year, it may take up to 5 weeks to hear back about a course approval status. So it can take over a month. So if it's been a week and you haven't heard back, contacting the department or contacting the registrar's office isn't going to get you anywhere. We allow faculty that full 5 weeks to make their decision. So you're going to have to wait for that whole time, which should give you some indication of how early you want to submit these requests, because it can be a slow process. If it has been more than 5 weeks, you can contact our office, the Office of the Registrar, to ask for an update on the status. And we're happy to check with faculty, see what's happening, see if they need more information. A note on this timeline is if you are submitting some requests over summer, because you're going abroad in fall, this timeline can be very slow, much slower, because a lot of faculty do not work over the summer. We highly recommend getting those requests in during spring quarter while the majority of faculty are still on campus.
Alrighty, some frequently asked questions in that the Office of the Registrar generally receives. First and foremost is how will my courses come back to DU? So that's kind of what we've been sort of touching on this whole presentation. It comes down to submitting coursework approval requests if you would like. If you don't see courses already pre-approved on tiers for specific credit. That kind of leads into our next question here for how many credits do you earn abroad? That's going to depend on the program. The Office of International Education has a lovely handy dandy PDF that has most of their programs grade and credit conversion scales. So again, some programs might be operating from just a semester system, and so converting that to quarters is a simple equation. Some other abroad programs might have different calculations, and so all of those credits are going to be fixed amounts. It's not variable in that way, but it does vary depending on where you go and what program you're abroad at. Some study abroad courses might have pass-fail, some might have letter grades, and some might have a combination of both. So again, this kind of brings to mind what we mentioned earlier about needing at least a C- or better grade for a course to count towards a major or minor. If we can determine in the Office of the Registrar based on your abroad transcript that the grade you earned is a C- or better, we would be able to apply that to your majors and minors. If it falls below that C-, or if it's a pass-fail, is a little bit more nuanced. We might need some clarification there. We might have to figure out if the pass at your abroad institution would equate to the same sort of C- percentage or better. That's just something to keep in mind, especially if you do know that your school does have that pass-fail grading system. It also is important to note that GPA, when you're abroad, does not factor into your GPA back at DU. So you're still going to see all of your study abroad grades printed on your DU transcript. They'll have the letter grade with an asterisk, and that asterisk is just meant to signify that it is not counting in your DU GPA. So you'll see it visibly on the transcript or on your degree audit, but it is not counting into your DU GPA at all. And similarly, if you fail one of your courses abroad, we have questions sometimes come up about omitting those from a DU transcript. That is not possible. All of your grades from abroad, no matter what they are, A's, B's, F's, will appear on your DU transcript. But again, it's going to have that asterisk to signify that it does not count in your DU GPA. And then sometimes we see courses on the tiers website that count for multiple different DU courses. So sometimes, there might be a course that counts in poli-sci and public policy, or Spanish and history. And so if you don't have a preference, we'll kind of just enter the credit in, just based on what as we're filling it out, and there's not necessarily any sort of rhyme or reason there. If you do have a preference, you can definitely communicate that to the Office of the Registrar. You can say, hey, I want this course to be Spanish, and we would enter it in as such. We would also try to just use context clues. If you're a history major and we see that a course is approved as history and Spanish, we might just automatically apply it as history because we assume that would be what you would intend for it anyway. But again, if any sort of mix-ups occur with multiple different DU course or abroad courses that are approved as multiple DU courses, you can always reach out to the Office of the Registrar and just clarify that, and we would be able to get that updated.
So this wraps up our presentation today. As we've talked about, that both on the Office of the Registrar and the Office of International Education's websites, we have instructions on how to find tiers, and then also how to submit coursework approvals. So please contact either of our offices. So the Office of International Education, our best contact is duabroad@du.edu. So if you have questions about program selection and resources for study abroad, please feel free to email us, or if you just have questions after this presentation, please feel free to contact us. If you do have any questions about coursework approval requests that you submitted, any questions about tiers, feel free to email the registrar at du.edu. We thank you for listening today, and we look forward to working with you on your study abroad plans.